Wednesday was the actual National Signing Day, not to be confused with the early one that was in December. But now the 2025 recruiting class officially has a bow tied on it.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, as always, apply. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, on Wednesday, it was National Signing Day for college football. Now, again, not to be confused with early National Signing Day that took place in December. The introduction of that early one kind of takes away a lot of the deadline drama that you used to see a couple of years back. Kids flipping their commitment on the 25th hour or decommitting, whatever it may be. Being that there's now two signing days, the second one, which was on Wednesday, a lot less stress, but it effectively ties a bow on the 2025 recruiting class for NC State. We talked just a couple days ago, last-minute additions that have signed with the Pack and also the recruiting rankings that have rised up a little bit, depending on what site you use. On On3, I believe they have NC State at 36 nationally. 247 Sports has 45th nationally. But Kenton, we're going to talk about some of the kids that actually signed on Wednesday. From the high school ranks, you have edge Adrian Farrow, which we spoke about earlier this week from Florida. Running back DeAndre Desenor from Delray Beach, Florida. Linebacker Kayvon Carter, that was a Texas State flip. He's from San Antonio, Texas. LaCorian Hodge from Arlington, Texas. He was another late addition just a couple weeks ago. And then you have all of your transfers that took place over the last month and a half here. I won't get into all of those names. Obviously, people have spent plenty of time looking through them. But Kenton, your early gut reactions here, who are some of the names that you expect to be early contributors as soon as this season?
We've talked about him a ton. We've had his parents on and all that. But, of course, you look at Spike Souls and you're expecting it for a center position that has been the anchor of NC State for quite some time, going back to Garrett Bradbury and then going forward into, I believe the next one after him was Grant Gibson, and then going from Grant Gibson into Dylan McMahon, who was a guy that was a multi-year starter before he took over that spot, and then going from McMahon to Zeke Corral, who was a highly touted transfer and all that good stuff. You're looking at a guy who could potentially continue that legacy of really, really good NC State centers, of guys who are either all conference or better, of guys who go on to end up on freak lists, who go on to end up being drafted in the first round, all that type of stuff. This is a young man that could very well continue that legacy. This is a young man that I look at, and I'm very much so like, hey, don't be shocked if we see him end up as a freshman All-American at the end of this season.
I'll work kind of backwards. I'll start with the portal additions. The two that jump off the page for me, and they have these last couple weeks, number one is Teague Anderson. He was the first commitment out of the portal for the Pack way back in December. Offensive lineman joining us from Utah State. Being that he was first, and NC State placed their premiums on bringing in high-value targets, especially on that offensive line, to rebuild this offensive line into 2025. You got to figure there's a lot riding on not only Teague's success in particular, but the whole offensive line success, which I spoke about earlier in this week. So he was a really good get. I think when you turn on the tape, as Kenton likes to say, he shows you a lot of flashes, even though he's at Utah State, G5, whatever that may be, but ball is ball. If you can move people around at a high rate of success, you can do it at the ACC level, the SEC level, whatever it may be. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Teague Anderson can accomplish in the red and white. Another one is Sterling Dixon. He's the linebacker from Alabama. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. If Nick Saban trusted this kid, I trust this kid. And when you're looking at a linebacking core from NC State this past year that needs, essentially as much help as they can get, give me every single player I can take from Alabama, put them in that linebacking core, wind them up, and let them go. So as far as the transfer ranks go, I'm looking at Teague Anderson and Sterling Dixon in particular. Kenton, you already spoke about Spike Souls there. He was an early signee. How about the 4 that just signed on Wednesday? Farrow, Desenor, Carter, or Hodge?
Yeah, so I want to talk about Farrell because I did get a chance to watch his tape now, and boy, that kid's got a motor. He just keeps going. He is like an Energizer bunny on that defensive line. And I'll tell you what, I now understand what people mean when they say, oh, is there a changing in the body types? Because while he's listed at 6'4", 245, it looks different. He looks a lot thinner than a lot of our previous defensive ends were. But it's a trade-off, and with that comes certain things. He has more flexibility around that edge and more speed than we have seen in quite some time. That is not something that we've seen at a very high clip in terms of guys that we have bought in as true freshmen. I would say the last guy that kind of gave me this type of feeling was Red Hibbler. But even with him, that is a shorter, more stocky guy who, they listed him very generously at, what was it, 6'1", or I've seen him in person. That's a generous, no shade to the young man, but that's a generous height measurement there. But in all seriousness, I look at that young man and I say to myself, he could be an impact player down the line for State. If you can fully hone in on the flashes that he showed around the edge and make him a full-time, hey, I'm not just a pass rusher, I'm a bookend type of guy, he could be something special here.
And something else I noticed about the high school kids that are coming in for the 2025 class, of the 22 of them in total, 20 of them are from out of the state of North Carolina. And I find that fascinating because Coach Dorn and the staff have put a very large importance on building that wall around the state of North Carolina, finding the best prospects that are homegrown and then keeping them in Raleigh. For 20 of 22 to be from outside of North Carolina, what do you really make of that, Kenton? Do you think that's a philosophy shift or just picking the best talents you can go out and find?
I think it is more so they picking the best talent you can go find than a philosophy shift. I think if the best guys are in the state of North Carolina, they're obviously going to use those advantages and kind of use those pipelines that have already been built there. But the reality is, in today's game, no team can withstand, for the most part, unless you're in Texas or Florida, to say, hey, we're going strictly home for home, and that's how we're going to win us a championship. That's how we're going to, accomplish all our goals and all that. Maybe those teams in California as well, again, just based on population, you should be able to make that happen. But again, most teams will need to go out of state for their needs in terms of players. Again, it's not like NC State is landing the true type A and elite talent in the state, but nobody in the state is, right? You look at the quarterback Jaden Davis from a few years ago, he's up in Michigan now. You look at Big Sanders, the tackle from Charlotte, he's going to Tennessee. So it's not like those guys are staying in state at all at a meaningful rate to where it's like, oh yeah, this is where NC State will win. It just seems to be you got to go with who loves you.
I actually miscounted. It was 19 of 22. So everybody point and laugh that Grayson can't count. But, the same sentiment remains. 19 of those 22 coming from out of state. It is impressive nonetheless. On3 has us at 36. 247 Sports has NC State at 45th. When you're looking at some of the best classes that Dorn has pulled in, I think twice he's ranked at 28th, and that's been the highest of his tenure. That's not that far off. So it's interesting coming out of what is a down year. You finished 6-7 with the bowl loss. You're still probably a top 5 class in the entire Dorn tenure. So if absolutely nothing else, it's good to see that they're still hitting the recruiting trail hard and they're still looking for the best talents to come into NC State and then from there on out become homegrown. Certainly a lot more coverage on the 2025 recruiting class to be talked about during spring football, which again gets going here in just a number of weeks. Coming up next, we're going to discuss NC State men's basketball and if they're going to get the win on the road at Cal. We're recording this before the game on Wednesday night. We're going to tell you what may happen, what may not happen, and why. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Thursday sponsor is Gametime. Are you looking for tickets to your next big event? Whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sporting event, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a little bit of a headache. But with Gametime Picks, it's never been made easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste all of your time searching through thousands of ticket listings. I personally have been using Gametime Picks for quite some time now, and this is why I love it. The curated deals make it super simple to find the best value for the best tickets, and you can use their super deals. I've recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I could not believe the value as I was sitting down. Speaking of sitting down, the in-app seat view feature is a game changer. Before you even hit buy, you can see exactly what to expect upon arrival. And the best part, you're covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal anywhere else using any other site, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation fees if anything comes up. Are you ready to make your next event better than ever? Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Middle portion of our Thursday show, time for the Beating a Dead Horse segment, otherwise known as NC State men's basketball is about to play a game. They're on the road Wednesday evening at Cal. Now, we're currently recording this on Wednesday evening. I understand this is the Thursday show, so by the time you're listening to this, you're already going to know the final score. We currently do not. We all know that they've lost 6 in a row. They're 2-8 in conference, 9-12 overall. It's an eyesore. It's been hard to watch every single game, a comedy of errors of what will go wrong next. So we're going to basically use our psychic powers here and predict on if they are going to get the win or they're not going to get the win. And then feel free to make fun of whatever outcome we get wrong tomorrow when you're listening to this on Thursday. So Kenton, Cal is currently a 1.5 favorite. It's an 11 p.m. tip-off. Godspeed to anyone staying up to watch this. As underdogs this year, NC State is 0-10. If sprinkle a little something on this one. Cal has had their struggles this year. They're 11-11. They've already beaten us once before. They're also 4-7 in conference. I also understand their leading scorer, Stojakovic, may not play in this game, which could have a heavy impact. So, Kenton, if NC State is going to win this game, what needs to happen? Fill in the blank.
If NC State is going to win this game, you need to win the rebounding battle. And here's the important one. You need to finish this game strong. You need to win the second half battle in this game. I don't think that either team is good enough to jump out to an immediate, hey, we're beating the brakes off of you style of game here. These are two, I wouldn't even say middling. These are two lower tier ACC teams. I mean, the higher of the two is what, 12 of 18? Like, objectively speaking, both of these teams are in the bottom third of the conference. Yeah. With that in mind, I mean, this game, NC State figures out ways to drop it in the second half every single time. I mean, it just continues to be a problem. If NC State can finish strong in the second half, they can come away with a win at Cal Berkeley, which Lord knows they need. At some point in time, this losing streak has to end. It literally has to. And I think that tonight could be the night.
I think if NC State wins this game, their shooting percentages are going to look very similar to what they looked like against Duke this past week. Against Duke on that Monday night, they shot 40% from the floor, 45% from three, and they hit 10 threes. You're going to need an effort like that one. I would like NC State to get to the foul line a little bit more than they did in that Duke game, just 7 foul shots. But to Kenton's point there, you have to finish strong. And that's something this team is really struggling with right now. Even when they find themselves up at halftime or generating a little bit of a lead early parts in the second half, it just repetitively crumbles. And so to get a win in any game in the ACC is hard enough, but to do it on the road, it adds just a little bit more importance to finish these games. Finish on the glass, especially if you're giving up O boards, sayonara, forget about it, to anyone, let alone Cal. So if NC State is going to win this game, I think they're essentially going to have to shoot the lights out, which maybe 40% from the floor and 45% from three is really nothing spectacular. But for this team right now, it would absolutely be spectacular. Kenton, if NC State wins this game, who is the leading scorer and how many points will they finish with?
Give me, this is tough. Give me Marcus Hill with 16. Give me Give me Marcus Hill with 16. And let me tell you something. One thing that I do know about this game, with Page's boy out, hammer the under. Hammer.
Yeah.
Put everything you got on that under, because I don't see these two teams combining for, I believe the under over is about 135 right now or somewhere along those lines. I don't see these teams reaching that without that young man playing and whatnot. But in all seriousness, I would say most likely you get Marcus, you get him going downhill, making good things happen at the rim, 16 points.
The current over-under is 138.5. I'm going to smash that under because I think NC State's only averaging like 65, probably even less than that at this point in ACC games. I'm going to ride the hot hand and say Dontrez style. He had 18 against Duke, 24 against Clemson. Perhaps he has even more than that against Cal because Lord knows they need somebody to light it up from the perimeter. So give me Dontrez Styles. I'm going to say he finishes with 21 points if they win. Now we're going to flip gears. If NC State continues the losing streak and adds on another game to make it 7 in a row, what happens, Kenton?
Well, if NC State loses this game, obviously they gave up a lot on the offensive boards. And more importantly, they finished the game with single-digit assists. One thing that I have noticed that has been a common trend among this team in terms of their struggles or lack thereof is a complete and utter inability to move the ball effectively. A complete and utter inability for this team to have good player movement, to have cutting, to have execution in terms of the sets that we run. And that's what leads to a lack of assists, because at that point in time, even if you do score, it comes off one guy dribbling the ball into the ground and then finding his way to the rim, or hitting a shot, hitting a tough contested shot, or shaking a guy free and hitting an open shot. But either way, that's a much tougher game than, hey, we are executing all of our play calls at a high level to the point where, yes, defenses are getting their two contests, two put a hand in the face, but by then the ball's already gone.
And Kenton, that's a great point there. According to ESPN, NC State's assists per game is 12.5. That is 311th in the country. That is staggeringly low. And obviously that makes a lot of sense with context, being that we haven't been able to generate good enough ball movement, good enough cutting in the lane. And for the majority of a lot of these games, it's felt like one guy's got to step up and try to be a hero, whether it's Jaden Taylor, Dontrez Styles, Marcus Hill. It feels like too often that one guy's got to put all the weight on his shoulders and then go out and try to win the game. It's never going to work that way. It's not going to work the first time we played against Cal in Raleigh. Certainly will not work the second time all the way out in Berkeley. So I'm definitely with Kenton on that. You got to find a way to share the basketball, find the open man, generate good looks, not just from the perimeter, but even in the paint. Let Marcus Hill do what he does best, knife to the paint and get a good look at the rim. I'm going to say if Cal wins this game, you're making somebody else a hero. If Stojakovic, in fact, does not play, and again, that's their leading scorer. I think he has like 19 points per game as his average. If you take that out and Cal still wins, somebody stepped up in a major way. And I know the last time we played Cal, including with Stojakovic, he only had 10 points in that game, but it was just a 65-62 rock fight. It might be another game very similar to that style, but I have my eye on Jovan Blacksher. If Stojakovic is out, that's going to generate a lot more looks for Blacksher. And if he can knock them down at an effective rate of speed there, I don't know. NC State's going to have to find a way to guard their perimeter because they've struggled a lot with that over the course of this season. So essentially, that is that on that. When you listen to this on Thursday, you will know if NC State broke the streak or not, but it feels kind of up in the air. It's a toss-up game. Again, Cal is a 1.5 favorite at home, which means on a neutral court, I think NC State may actually be the favorite in this one with Stojakovic out, but it's going to come down to execution late in the second half. Can they break the streak? I guess we'll all find out together in the early parts of Thursday morning. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Thursday show with some amendments to the ACC baseball tournament. Now a single elimination tournament doing away with pool play. After a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Thursday sponsor is PrizePicks. The big game is almost here on Sunday, and there's no better way to make it even more exciting than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With over 10 million members and billions in awarded winnings, PrizePicks makes it fun and simple to get in on the action. Here's how it works. All you have to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. PrizePicks even has a free pick for the big game coming up on Sunday, where Patrick Mahomes only needs to throw for 1 yard in order to win. I did not read that incorrectly. Just 1 passing yard. That's all you need. Pair that with 1 more correct pick, and if that hits, you're cashing out. Check out the promos tab on the app to tail any of the Super Sweet Millie Winners big game lineups. That's a mouthful. If you tail a lineup that goes 3 for 3, you can split $1 million in promo funds. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, 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 for $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. ACC baseball news. The ACC Baseball Championship Tournament has now changed their format beginning this year in 2025. This year also, the tournament will be in Durham and using all 16 teams in the ACC now with the addition of Cal and Stanford. SMU does not have a baseball team and neither does Syracuse, so there's only 16. It will be a single elimination format as opposed to the pool play and round robin format that they have used since 2006. Kenton, what are your thoughts? Are you more of a pool play type of guy, or do you love the single elim?
Give me the single elim, man. I want a true tournament. I don't want all this, oh, you play this team plays this team, and this team beats this team, and we got to go through all these hypotheticals and whatchamacallit. Nah, lace them up, get on the diamond, determine the game right there. Determine the tournament right there. I don't want to go through all of that. You know, you got to play this team, and if this team, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to know, hey, you got this team, and if you win, you play the winner of these two. And if you win, you play the winner of the, and just move on that way. I like it. Simplify it. Make it straightforward. Make it plain, as the Saints would say.
I'm with you. I've never really been a fan of the pool play and using the round robin because a lot of times after you play your first game, your second game can be rendered completely irrelevant. Like it doesn't even matter if you win or lose. And at that point, it's just like you're like wasting time essentially in the middle of a tournament. This is a true tournament. A single elim is how I think all tournaments should be, especially at the college level. You know, growing up, you play round robin tournaments. This ain't that. This is for all the marbles in a conference championship. I love the single elim. To Kenton's point, it kind of cuts out all the BS. You don't have to worry about the hypotheticals and saving pitchers for the instance where we might play this team, but if we play this team and the game doesn't matter, we can't throw them then. Never needed any of that. Lace them up, like Kenton said. We got 9 innings. When we beat you, we're on to the next one, and so on and so forth. That's how this tournament should be, and I love that it's beginning this year in 2025. We all know that Coach Avent and NC State has not won an ACC tournament championship. I said over a calendar year ago that they wouldn't do it in 2024, but they would do it in 2025. And I'll tell you this much, I think a single elim might just help their chances a little bit more, being that they have one of the most dominant pitching staffs in the ACC.
What does Grayson know that made him say they wouldn't win it last year, but they win it this year? What does Grayson know? He's moving like Rob Pelinka right now. What's going on with this Grayson character? And what is it about this team? But no, I 1,000% could see this team winning a single elimination tournament. And hell, what a way. What a way. I know that Elliott Avent hasn't announced any plans to retire or anything like that, but we all know that day is coming eventually, right? Like he's not going to, go on the glory in the manager's box. That's just not going to happen. So, and it's widely speculated that when the new stadium is built and all that, that'll be it. Grayson, how far are we from the new stadium being built?
They went through some renovations this past offseason, but I think we're still probably a year or two away from everything being done.
Yeah. What better time? What better time to, give Elliott Avent the opportunity to say, you know what? We did it. We're finally champions, boys, because, again, it's been long overdue. And now that these upgrades are happening, this team's going to be all the better form. I agree, Grayson. This year is the year they get it done, and a single elimination helps them.
And I'll tell you something else. The top 4 teams in the ACC will get that double bye. You're automatically in the quarterfinal round. That is a change from that pool play round because you still had to win your pool in order to make it out. So just puts a premium on your performance throughout the entirety of the regular season. And for reference, NC State finished 3rd in the ACC last year. So they would have received a double bye. You do that again, you might just be in business this go around. That'll do it for us here on Thursday. As always, hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. Will Pack basketball break the streak on Wednesday evening? I guess we'll find out as you listen to this early on Thursday morning. Thank you all so much. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.